Yo, what's good, YouTube? This is Jay from TNJ, and welcome back to the Nashville Stars franchise. We are here at the draft day episode as our Stars are sitting here at the top of the wild card chase, and we are, I would say, about 4 games ahead of the other teams. And we take a little bit of a break in the action to look at the draft. But I first want to talk about our draft history. Our first overall pick was Steven Brennan. He has spent the last 3 seasons in the minor leagues, and I think he still needs another year. He is 20 years old still. Just believe that. He is 20. We drafted him when he was 18. We actually passed on blue chip prospects to get him, and I think he's finally coming into his own. You'll see some action from him later. Our second pick overall in this series was Troy Quincy. I would say this is a hit. He has turned into our ace. At least at the bottom, he is our number 2. But I think that he is going to be a Nashville Star for life, and he has been at the MLB level for 3 seasons now. I guess 2.5. Jimmy Sandoval was the pick after that. He is finally getting his turn at the show. But then after that, we picked Cam Norton. Our season 1 draft class was actually really strong. Cam Norton has turned into a good minor league shortstop, and I think that he's a guy that, will be there for a while. We'll see if he gets a shot at the show. Our top fielding prospect was drafted in season number 2 in Enrique Bradfield Jr. He won Minor Leaguer of the Year for us last year. He's not quite ready yet. He's still at AA, but he is developing into a solid player. A couple of other solid picks back in season 2. We had Justin Faith, who we drafted. He is a pretty good player also. He is 26, but I think that he's the guy that's going to get a shot sooner rather than later. Zach Davis is a 21-year-old pitcher. We drafted him back in season number 2 also. He is a young guy, but see potential. He doesn't have a high ceiling. We'll see what he could turn into. But now we reveal the picks from last draft. Now, our first pick was Martin Franco. He was a blue chip prospect, and he was a closing pitcher. He's going to be a really good bullpen guy, and I don't know if he's going to be the closer, but he's going to be a really good rotational guy in the bullpen. Our best hitter we drafted last draft was Coco Mocha. We ended up signing him to a contract, and we ended up, for the first time, not signing all of our draft picks. We signed all of them but one. Coco Mocha was our second round pick. Nathan Krajicek, I believe that's how you say it, correct me if I'm wrong, was our third pick. Now, we drafted 2 closing pitchers in our first 3 picks, something that we probably would not do again, but the draft class kind of dictated that. We had an opportunity to get him, and he ends up being really good. 21 years old, he is 69 overall, B potential. Our first 3 picks were pretty much hits. Our last 3 picks really weren't. Jack Bourbon ends up being a big bat in the outfield, but I don't think he's going to go anywhere. He's deep potential unless he really shows what he can do. I'm going to move him down to AA to get him some at-bats. Hopefully he can hit there. But a guy I want to bring into the series is Tyler Pitzer. If you were following my Denver Bears series last year, he was a guy that never made it to the pros. He was a lifelong minor leaguer. I signed him to a contract in the minors, and hopefully he can maybe turn into something. He is an older prospect now, and we do have older prospects like Bryce Jarvis who are also still there. But we'll see. Our rotation is interesting. We have a lot of pitchers that aren't rated high, but I think that all it takes is one breakout season for you to get your chance. So I'm going to give every single one of our prospects, especially our starting pitchers, chance to kind of rise to the next level. If they compete, if they do well, they will get there. Now, here are the top prospects in baseball. Hank Hirsch, who we sent over in the Caprellian deal. We drafted him in the first round last year. He ends up being, actually it was 2 years ago, he ends up being the number 5 prospect in baseball. And then Martin Franco, who we drafted first round last year, is the only guy in the top 50 for us at number 39 as a closing pitcher. But going into this draft season, I want to just show you guys a preview. This is a very weak draft class. In season 2, I said that was a weak draft class. This is by far the weakest. There are only 2 blue chip prospects in this entire draft, and it's a closing pitcher, Barney Denson, who is 20 years old. He looks good, but I just don't dictate that as being like cream of the crop. Martin Cordero is a 2029 plus ETA second baseman at 19 years old. So I feel bad for these teams that are in the top 10 that maybe wanted a blue chip and won't get it. I think we're in the perfect spot here at number 11. We allowed the blue chippers to go off the board in the first 2 picks, and then ahead of us, you can just see the potentials. They're terrible. So here are the guys we have scouted here to draft here to start this draft, and it doesn't look promising. There aren't a ton of guys that we have here that are 80 potential, that are at high accuracy. So a lot of this is going to be guessing, and I guess that's what the draft is anyway. It's just a bunch of guessing. But still, I want to make sure I hit on this first pick at least. We have a couple of options here. Reed Hoffman is the first, a 2026 ETA, 80 potential, but we have about maybe a quarter of his accuracy filled up. One thing that is a huge red flag is that you never want to draft guys that look like they're 80 overall. That never ends up happening. So I immediately kind of throw him out of the window. I'm not going to go after him. Derek Rowe is the second guy. We have scouted at about 50% accuracy, 70 overall, 80 potential. Darren Floyd we have at about 75 accuracy, and he is at 80 potential, 75 overall. I believe in our scouts here because usually they're pretty accurate here with position players. He's a good contact hitter. Great defense, also has an 80 arm potential. We don't have an infielder, especially at the middle infield, who is an A+ arm. And I think with that 80 potential arm, he's definitely at the top of our list here. Les Thornton is another guy we consider. We don't have him scouted as accurately, but I go back to Darren Floyd. He is the best out of all of those options. We end up picking him at number 11. Now in the second round, I decide to look at Les Thornton again. He is 23 years old, and that's the thing that gives me hesitation. He's not going to be able to develop a whole lot here in the minors because we're going to have to move him up pretty quickly. I don't want to develop guys too long when they are older pitchers coming in. But then I look at Bob Warner, a 19-year-old outfielder, 75 potential, not quite 80, but a good arm. We don't have many plus arms in the outfield, so this is definitely intriguing for me. And he's 19 years old. He's going to have that time to develop, and he's got good speed, good stealing, and good reaction. I end up going with him with our second round pick. In the third round, kind of a similar situation. You know, there aren't a ton of guys here. Pedro Sanchez is a guy that's 75 potential, 65 overall, 21 years old. You know, I like him. I'm not exactly sold on him though. And then I go down and look at other guys. Les Thornton is still here. And I think I'm going to pull the trigger on Les Thornton. I've been talking about him for 2 rounds now. I'm going to pull the trigger on Thornton, just see what he's got. And in the third round, I feel a lot more comfortable drafting him at age 23. In the fourth round, I kind of settle on a guy, Dewey Cooper. He is another 75 potential guy. We don't have these guys scouted at full accuracy, so we're kind of guessing at this. But I like him. He's got 80 hits per 9 as his potential, 65 right now, but awesome stamina. So I like that pick right there. Well, I want to get another position guy, but there are not many left that at least have anything scouted at all, or at least look like ETA of not 2029 plus. So I think going pitching here is really the move. And I look at David Villa, who is a 2026 MLB ETA guy, 70 overall, 80 potential. He's not that 80 overall, 80 potential. I would not draft him if he was that, because that pretty much says that he's probably a bust. So I will draft him, and then we go on to round 6. Norm Carrara is the lone guy here at the top with 80 potential left. He is 18 years old, and that's the reason, big reason why you might as well just take a flyer on him, see what he ends up being. And we drafted closing pitching last draft. I waited until the last round to get it this time around, and we end up completing our draft with him. So we look at our full draft picks here, and Darren Floyd ends up being very, very good. He has 83 potential, which is pretty decent for what, you know, we saw in that draft class. Look at the hitting zones, though. That is amazing. His clutch rating is high. His defense is also good. To me, he kind of looks like a shortstop, not a third baseman, but we'll see. I'm going to probably develop him as both a shortstop and a third baseman. So I like that first pick. Bob Warner ends up being decent, not great. He has good speed. His defense is okay. His hitting needs some development, but he's only 70 potential. So that definitely kind of worries me. Les Thornton is 23 years old, 79 potential, 59 overall. I'm not sure how much he's going to develop from there, so I'm not sure about him. Dewey Cooper is 21 years old, 59 overall, 72 potential. David Villa isn't much better. C potential again, 58 overall, 74. I wish the potential at 79 that we had from our 23-year-old pitcher would be on one of these last guys that are young. But Norm Carrara is 18 years old, 76 potential, a little bit higher. But I imagine those guys are probably going to be lifelong minor leaguers. I would say maybe the top two have a chance at the MLB, but I think that's about it. So our draft was very, very weak. And I just look at the other first round picks and they are also very weak. So we are not alone. This was just a very, very weak draft class. Maybe the hardest draft class to select from. I would say like the second best player in this first round that wasn't a blue chipper was Stephen McCallum. He goes to the Arizona Diamondbacks. The other blue chipper that we saw in the draft was Martin Cordero, 19 years old. He ends up being A potential, 61 overall. So he still got some years to develop, but just a weak draft class all around. So for those wondering if I renamed all you guys to the rest of the first round picks last year, I will be doing that. I'll be revealing that later. It takes a little bit of time to do. So I will reveal that towards the end of the season for sure. And then so you guys can see that. We'll be covering some prospects here this season, including Stephen Brennan, who was our first round pick in season number 1. He is a guy that really has been developing and can turn into something really nice. I think that Stephen Brennan is finally starting to figure it out, and maybe, next year he will be in the rotation. He is a 78 overall pitcher, so that gives you hope. Like, he is steady developing. I believe when we drafted him, his potential was 88, and it has not moved from there. He is still at 88 potential, and I like him a lot. Like, he is, like I said, young, 20 years old. And I think that the difference between playing with him this year and years past is that his fastball is tough to make contact with. His other pitches are the issue. He has a high whip, but those are mostly because his off speed isn't that good. He has pretty much one solid pitch, and that's that 4-seamer. He has a 2-seamer also. Those 2 pitches are it. He needs an off-speed pitch, so we're going to have to figure something out. Now, I have not introduced the mentor program since the first 2 seasons. I'm not sure if I will continue that, and I'm not sure. We'll have to see, just because I want to make it fair for all of the other teams that are developing players also, and I feel like I am getting an advantage there. Here is Martin Franco, who was our first round pick last year. He is pretty good. I like him a lot. Now, he's going to have a couple of years to develop, and he has 97 potential. He's going to develop very quickly. We're going to see him probably up at the majors within the next 2 seasons. He is at 64 overall. I imagine that after this year, based on how he's pitching now, he's kind of in a setup role at the AA level. He's going to probably go up about 4 to 5 overall this year. And then next year, who knows, he could do another 4 to 5 overall. Then he will be mid-70s. And I think that he will be ready then, but we'll see. Now, one thing I like about him is that his delivery on his pitches is incredible. He's got that Johnny Cueto-esque delivery. Very, very tough to pick up the ball. Our top fielding prospect is Enrique Bradfield Jr., a guy that I envision as the leadoff hitter at the MLB level next year. Now, he is a pure center fielder. He has a pretty bad arm, to be honest with you, but his fielding and reaction is really, really good. One thing he has on him, which is very, very surprising, he hits the ball for power. Like, I see a lot of doubles from him, a lot of triples from him. He's got the speed to steal second if he just gets to single, but what's really impressive is his ability to hit to all fields. It's absolutely incredible. I can't believe that he can hit like this. He has been at the AA level, and I want to see him do that the same way at the AAA level. He goes off to a slow start this year at AAA, so I moved him down. But the one guy at the AA level I want to look at here is Coco Mocha. We have been struggling to really find a corner outfielder to play beside Taylor Trammell and Dom Thompson-Williams. I think Coco Mocha could eventually be that guy. And when we do move up Enrique Bradfield and we have Taylor Trammell in left, maybe Dom Thompson-Williams in right, we'll have to see how things are at that time. Coco Mocha is a big-time bat. You can just see on this swing, this was a hard-hit ball. The potential that he has with this left-handed swing is amazing. He reminds me of Barry Bonds, and I don't want to put that type of expectation on him, but his batting stance, his swing, everything, he just hits the ball with so much power. 116 exit velocity on that liner. So here he comes up versus Altoona, and you could just see, like, he just hits the ball extremely well. Even on a very early timing swing, that's a double down the right field line. That just shows you, just the power on his bat. He's going to be a guy I'm very, very excited for. So we're coming up on the end of the episode here, and I wanted to show you guys some of our draft picks from last year and a couple of highlights from our minor league teams, and I really wanted to focus on the draft. Our Bowie Bay Sox are right now 46-21, dominating AA. We are absolutely going to win the ship this year. I have no doubt about that. And we get through like a string of like 3 weeks of games, and we end up being up and down at the MLB level, kind of sticking where we were, about 14 games over 500 at 45-31. And you can just see our schedule heading into the All-Star break. It's going to be very important because to end this month, we play teams pretty much all under 500, and to start next month, we do the same. So we're going to have an easier schedule going into the All-Star break. So we're going to have to take advantage of that. Kerry Doss should be back from injury. He's going to be back in 2 weeks already. Like, that was supposed to be a 2 to 3 month injury. That's the superstar dog in Kerry Doss. He's already going to be back in a month's time total. So that is amazing to see that already from Kerry Doss. So that's going to do it today. I appreciate you guys rocking with me in this series. I'm having a lot of fun with it. You see, I'm trying to get it out as much as possible, and it's going to be a lot of fun seeing the rebuild, seeing the journey. Can't wait. Let me know what you guys think of the draft picks and even the guys we drafted last year. I think Coco Mocha is going to be a big time bat here in the future. Hit subscribe, hit that like button. Stay tuned. Let's get it. Let's go.
I hope the rain don't come in November, 'cause the summer went way too fast. I'm trying real hard to remember